Learn how to start a business in your community with Launch Local podcast, full of know-how and inspiration from successful small business owners, including your host, Amber Artemis. Hey, this is Amber Artemis. I am the founder of the Launch Local podcast and Amber Artemis Consulting. I am here to help local businesses get off the ground. I am super passionate about them because that is what I have done for the last 20 years. I've run 2 successful local small businesses along with my husband. One was a service-based business that we did out of our homes, and the other is a product-based business. We're open 7 days a week, and we have a staff, and we manufacture things, and we make food, and we do all the things. Yeah, I am super excited about helping you get your own local business off the ground because one, it is just an amazing way to live. It is so fun if you like variety and challenges, and if you like connecting with community. Yeah, I just love it. There's no end of interesting things going on in the day in the life of a small business owner. I really appreciate the flexibility and the freedom that small business ownership has allowed me. My husband and I have 3 children that our businesses have supported. We've bought a home, we go on vacation, we have savings, we're meeting our goals, and that's all anybody could ask for. And it's just a blessing, that I would like to pass on to other people because we need it. I mean, aside from you and your own interests, which I'm here for you, our communities need you to show up and start a business. I look around my community and think I've got infinite ideas for what a good business opportunity would be, but there are only so many hours in the day. And so I am taking my time and energy to help others get going so I can share that launch energy with you and celebrate your wins as you get your great idea up off the ground and running in your community. So let's dive in. Today I'd like to talk with you about the who, what, when, where, why, and how of local business launching. So I'd like to walk you through the ins and outs of getting a local small business off the ground to help find out if it would be a good fit for you. All right, I normally like to lead with why. There's actually a book, Begin with Why. But today we're going to lead with who. Because it's all about you, baby. I am here for you. And I didn't do anything that I've accomplished in small business ownership by myself. I have always had support, and that's really why I'm here for you. In that same spirit, I want to make sure that you feel supported to get up and off the ground. And then once you're off the ground, you're still going to need support because it's not easy. And you're going to run into walls occasionally where you need to phone a friend. And, hopefully you've got mentors and peers in your industry, but in general, for local small business ownership, I am here to offer my insight and input. So please reach out to me if you do hit any of those walls. So let's talk about who. Who should start a local small business? Honestly, it is hard work. It may look really cool sometimes from the outside, but on the inside, you're putting out a lot of fires. You're juggling, keeping a lot of balls up in the air, and it's a lot of work to compartmentalize your life from your business, because some days it can feel like you never stop working. A lot of small business owners don't know what a vacation is, especially when they're getting up and going. But my goal is to teach you how to run a small business in a sustainable way so that your business supports your life and your life does not become your business. So who should start a local small business? Well, I believe you'd have to be prepared to put in whatever work is necessary. And I'm talking about being a deadline, or more like I'm going to see it through type of person. Because actually deadlines, a lot of times for reasons beyond your control, say like, I don't know, a pandemic, you might not be able to get open on time. True story, that's what happened to us. It took us about, I don't know, 7 more months than we imagined. But hey, we got there. It was amazing. Woo! Anyway, the point is, like, you need to be a person that is determined to see through what you start. All right. So having determination to follow through and accomplish your goal in sometimes not the way you intended to accomplish it. So that is something that I think is a superpower of my husband's, and something that I had to work on, to let go of accomplishing something in the way that I thought it needed to be accomplished. It frustrates me to no end when, like, you get a tool or a program or something, like you have a plan for how you're going to do something and it should work this way, but sometimes it just doesn't. And you have to stay focused on the goal and figure out a workaround. The metaphor that I've made up that was inspired by my husband is that you should be like water. Water is an unstoppable force and it will reach its goal eventually, no matter what. It hits the rocks, it hits the barriers, the foundations, and it just flows around them and it gets to where it's going eventually. So it's unstoppable, and that's what you need to be if you're going to get your local business off the ground. There are just no end of obstacles and unfun surprises. But hey, often, at least half the time, things go your way, and it's great. But you got to be flexible and you got to be determined. So that is the kind of person you should be. In addition to being determined and flexible, you need to be willing to learn, willing to grow. If you have a fixed mindset, if you're insecure and self-defeated easily, it's just not going to work. So all those obstacles I talked about, as they're coming your way, you have to be open to growth. You have to be willing to learn how to do something a little differently. And I've already mentioned, sometimes it's great to have a friend that you could talk to, or a mentor or a coach, a peer, somebody in your sphere that you could reach out to. Forums online, are a great place sometimes to find people to ask advice of. But honestly, you need to trust where that advice is coming from. If you just pop into a random forum, you're going to get possibly conflicting advice. And then that brings me to my next trait that I think is important for a small business owner to have. You need to be decisive. You need to decide what is right for you. Amongst all the opinions that you're going to get out there and all the beta, the feedback, solicited and unsolicited, you need to decide what works best for you. It's not easy sometimes to hear opinions or advice, if you didn't ask for them especially, and you need to decide what is the best course for you. And I always come back to my vision, my goal, my mission. So when I'm making a difficult decision, if I ask myself, is this part of the vision? Is this part of our mission as a business? Is this part of the vision that we have of our lives? Is this going to support that? Is this the most profitable use of my time? Because time is so scarce and we have no end of opportunities. And so we have to make decisive choices about how to spend that time and what direction to go in. And so it doesn't mean you have to keep going in that direction indefinitely, please. Like, don't go off a cliff. But being decisive and checking in periodically, reevaluating, adjusting course as needed. Hey, and sometimes you got to go back or scrap something off entirely, and change course. So it's not the end of the world, but the point is to commit, make a decision and get going. And honestly, like, that decisiveness or lack thereof can hold you back from launching, right? Like, you have these ideas, but you're like self-doubt. Oh, is this a good idea? Am I good enough? Is this really what I want to be doing? And those are important questions to get to the bottom of. But eventually, you're only gonna worry yourself out of a decision. There is no risk-free choice in this life. Zero. There is nothing with zero risk. I mean, even sitting here, eventually I'm going to die. Or I'm giving up the opportunity to do other things. That's the risk, right? My point is, like, you need to learn how to manage risk. A trick I use is to ask myself, like, what's the worst that could happen? Or say it out loud, the thing that you might be afraid of, like what's holding you back. And sometimes just by speaking something out loud, you can break the hold, the spell that has cast on you, and let it go. And you could say, yeah, that's not very likely, or that's not something really to worry about. Or if it is something to worry about, you could say, okay, so what? So I'd fail. Okay, that's all right. I'd pick up, I'd move on. Or I'd have to sell that property. Yep, okay, that's okay, I could do that. I'd pick up and I'd move on. I think there's going to be risks regularly in your future if you're going to be an entrepreneur or business owner. And your job is going to be to mitigate those risks, to plan ahead, and to move forward. And so we'll talk more about what that might mean in detail later throughout my course. Actually, I'm creating a small business launch course called Moonshot, and it is inspired by the call to action issued by John Kennedy at the start of the 60s. He said out loud his audacious goal. What's that acronym? Big, hairy, audacious goals. It was a big, hairy, audacious goal, which is, they're just the things worth doing in life. The things that you're really going to be proud if you accomplish them. And I mean, a moonshot is a seemingly impossible goal, but for a lot of people, starting their own business is just so out of reach. They might as well say that they wanted to be a rock star. It's not rocket science, though. It is something that I have figured out, and I am okay. I'm a little smart. I'm gonna blow my own horn here. I think I'm a clever girl, right? But I'm just an average girl, and I have figured this out, and you can too, and I will help you. I'm going to demystify this whole launch process through my course, Moonshot, and help you get that off the ground. So stay tuned for that. It's really some exciting stuff that I'm looking forward to rolling out later on this year.
Launch Local is an original podcast produced and recorded by Amber Artemis at Leisure Lane Studio in Jim Thorpe, PA. Show music is by Joshua Finsel. This is a video podcast available for viewing on YouTube or at the show website, launchlocal.biz, where you can subscribe to the show newsletter and find helpful tools like the Ready to Launch quiz. Take the quiz at launchlocal.biz to find out how I could help you launch your own local business.